the opening prayer.
We are praying. Rejoice, the Lord is King. Your Lord and King adore. We begin in the name of God the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Almighty God, we thank you for the University of Cape Coast and the height that you've brought it up to. We thank you for our international partners, the Office of International Relations, and all stakeholders of the university. We commit the first International Partners Week celebration into your hands. We ask that may you make it a success. We commit the venues for the program into your hands. We ask for your presence. Commit all functionaries into your hands. We ask that may you function through them. Those on their way coming, may you bring them here safely. We thank you for an answered prayer. This we pray in the name of Christ Jesus our Lord. Amen.
We shall remain standing. We'll sing the national anthem. Thank you very much. Kindly resume your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to invite the Dean for the Office of International Relations, University of Cape Coast, to give us the welcome address and also the statement of purpose. With a round of applause, let's welcome Professor Samuel Burt Bwedi-Kusi.
The Vice-Chancellor, Pro-Vice-Chancellor, Registrar, Deputy Minister of Education, Honorable Ntim Fojo, our guest speakers, our keynote speakers, members of Parliament present, former Vice-Chancellors and former registrars of the University of Cape Coast, Vice-Chancellors of sister universities or their representatives present, our esteemed international and local partners present, as well as our potential partners, heads of diplomatic missions or their representatives, Nananom, provosts, deans, directors, heads of departments, and colleague academics, student leaders and students from the University of Cape Coast, students from our second cycle institutions, our sponsors, friends from the media, all protocol duly observed. I know the Vice-Chancellor of the university will officially welcome you, but my duty this morning is to, on behalf of the University Management and the staff of the Office of International Relations, welcome all of you, our cherished partners, to our maiden International Partners Week, and to state the purpose why we have gathered this morning. As we are aware, the world is internationalizing and at the same time globalizing. By implication, all peoples and communities are increasingly becoming interdependent, both for their development and well-being, as well as facing challenges and solving problems. It is in this light that the University of Cape Coast, through the Office of the International Relations and other strategic offices, such as the African Center of Excellence in Coastal Resilience, ACOR, the Directorate of Research, Innovation and Consultancy, DRIC, Directorate of Academic Affairs, Directorate of Quality Assurance and Academic Planning, colleges, faculties and schools, departments, and individual efforts of faculty, staff, and students have been actively engaged in internationalization activities. Through internationalizing our university, we will be able to internationalize knowledge and build capacities to enhance human development and well-being and face challenges, boosting resilience and ensuring our everyday survival in an interdependent world. It must be underscored that we cannot internationalize without situating it in our cultural and local context and within our peculiar situations based on our local needs as institutions. In most instances, issues on internationalization have been seen as a global North and South relationship, often with its inherent perceived inequities, bias, and injustice, among others. The question is whether this is the case, and if it is so, what are we doing about it genuinely and honestly? In recent years, the drift and emphasis on South-South collaboration in the discourse of internationalization has also picked momentum. Interestingly, the South-South collaboration, just like the North-South collaborations, also have their own inherent challenges. In the light of these, the Office of International Relations, having participated in a number of Partners Week of other sister institutions, decided to organize this Maiden Partners Week to deliberate on the theme, re-examining our historical identity within the context of internationalization of higher education. Institutions for higher education and research are significant producers, educators, and transmitters of knowledge. The more our world is internationalized and globalized, the more international our knowledge production should be. This knowledge should help build capacities and enhance our problem-solving abilities, particularly for those of us in Africa, so that we can derive significant benefits from the internationalization of higher education efforts across the globe. It must be noted that any internationalization of higher education in an African context needs to be accompanied with a critical reflection. What drives our internationalization? Why do we need to internationalize our higher education? What do we want to achieve with internationalization? What is our aim? What will internationalization contribute to the quality and relevance of our teaching and also contribute to our society? And what may be the risk of internationalization? We will seek answers to these critical questions as we delve into the various presentations for today and tomorrow. At the University of Cape Coast, we have been very deliberate about our internationalization efforts, resulting in several activities happening at all levels of the university. These include student and staff and faculty mobilities, summer schools, joint conferences, joint grant applications and research, curriculum development and co-creation, collaborative online international learning, joint programs resulting in joint degrees and leadership training. As part of our activities, we also work with recruitment agencies and the Directorate of Academic Affairs to enroll international students in regular and language immersion programs. We do host many international students on exchanges and summer schools, as well as faculty and staff on other programs such as the Fulbright and the Carnegie program, among others. These activities have resulted in tangible outcomes shaping our internationalization drive, and we hope to harness the benefits of these activities over time. Internationalization, I must say, has been captured as one of the critical pillars of the UCC Corporate Strategic Plan to give meaning to what we do as an institution. We have also developed an internationalization policy to guide our operations. Similarly, we have developed a regionalization policy with the help of ACE-Core DLI 7 to give meaning to our South-South collaboration. By implementing these policies, we are working to improve internationalization in its various forms in UCC. In all these efforts, the welfare of our international students and international faculty remain a priority on our agenda. We do hope to share and learn from the experiences of our international and local partners who have graciously accepted our invitation and traveled to be part of this week's program, which started yesterday in the evening, and we are continuing today. We will continue tomorrow, God willing, with information sessions in the morning for early career researchers and our postgraduate students, and a scientific session which will see intensive discussions, and we invite you to be part of this. On Wednesday, we have set aside a cultural day where the landlord of the Ogoa traditional area, Osabari Makwesiata, will chair a cultural event with Nana Kwabna Nkitia of Esikado traditional area serving as the guest speaker. Our cultural troops from the music department, the traditional councils in our various halls, the international students will put up performances, and we encourage all of you to be part of this great cultural day, where we will also showcase traditional dishes, including the Ghanaian jollof, which is better than the Nigerian and Senegal jollof. I know our Nigerian brothers who are here and my Senegal brothers who are here disagree with me, but we are in Ghana. That remains a fact. At this point, Sir Vice Chancellor, I want to express our profound gratitude to our strategic partners, our partners and potential partners who are here, and those who could not make it due to scheduling challenges. We thank you for the several opportunities you have provided through our engagement. Several of our students and faculty have traveled on Erasmus programs and through other grants on exchanges to attend conferences. Some of you have provided scholarships for leadership training and master's and PhD programs. Others have also assisted us with curriculum development, donated equipment, and helped set up new schools and departments, while others have been teaching on various programs and served also as external examiners, among others. The support has been many and varied, and we cannot name them all. We thank you, and let us continue to collaborate to engage for our mutual benefit. I also want to thank our local collaborators and universities for making time to be here. I hope you will be part of the activities lined up for the week so that we can learn from each other. Vice Chancellor, I want to extend our profound appreciation to our sponsors. We knocked at their doors and they supported us. I want to acknowledge the immense support from the Ghana European Center. A round of applause for them. They have been very generous in supporting us, and I'm sure at the right time you will hear from their lead rep who is here. And that is how come you see most of their logos around. And they will lead most of the Erasmus sessions and discussions as well. We also want to acknowledge the support from the National Petroleum Authority, Confucius Institute, ACE-Core, Code, Institutional Affiliations Office, Institute of Education for their support. I also want to thank all members of the planning committee headed by Professor Rosemary Bosu, for your commitment and dedication. So on behalf of the University Management, I welcome you to this maiden International Partners Week. Please enjoy our beautiful green campus. I'm sure you have noticed that already. And do not hesitate to approach any of the ushers, any of us, if there are any challenges or any assistance that you will need. Once again, I say Akwaba, welcome to all of you. Welcome, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Samuel Bert Bodikusi. He's Dean of the Office of International Relations, University of Cape Coast. At this point, we'll be treated to an interlude by international students of the University of Cape Coast. So let's welcome them as they display their various flags. With a round of applause, let's welcome the international students of UCC.
Come, journey with me to the land of Botswana, a country that was once known to be so small and so poor. Allow me to brag. Now are known as the jewels of Africa, known to discover one of the largest diamond stones. Therefore, I am a Motswana, I am from Botswana, and I speak Setswana.
Heureux qui, comme Ulysse,
a fait un beau voyage,
ou comme c'est celui-là, qui conquit la toison,
puis s'est retourné,
plein d'usage et raison, rejoindre ses parents.
le reste de son âge.
This famous French poem is about a boy who went on a very long journey and traveled a lot, and during his travels he gained a lot of wisdom and intelligence. And as he comes back home, he is able to share everything that he has learned with his family and friends. Today, we are just like this boy traveling in Ghana, learning a bit of its culture every day, and hopefully we can share them back home as well.
Union, discipline, travail. Telle est la devise de ma belle patrie, la Côte d'Ivoire. African Champion, pays de l'hospitalité, du PA. Je vous remercie.
Bufabayitinji, Mampuni Gambia, Uchagu Tinkri, Africa. Good morning, everyone. I am Jimina Blessing from the Gambia. A country refers to as the smiling coast of Africa. Thank you.
Le Togo est un pays à l'est du Ghana. I'm a proud Togolese.
United Kingdom, Malawi, South Africa, Nigeria. Thank you.
A round of applause for our students once more. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I have the singular honor of introducing our chair for this event. Our chair is a pharmacist and biomedical scientist. He has worked and served this great university at different levels, and his research interests cover multidisciplinary areas, a reflection of his diverse professional training in the area of biomedical science and pharmacy. Now, these include parasitic diseases, drug-resistant parasites, drug discovery, and targeted drug delivery. He has more than 50 publications in peer-reviewed journals. He is a fellow and also a member of academic board of the Ghana College of Pharmacists. He has taught parasitology and supervised undergraduate and postgraduate MPhil and PhD students with diverse backgrounds. He is currently the Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast. His name is Professor Johnson Nyako Bwampong. Before he gives us his remarks, I would ask that we all rise and sing the UCC anthem. Thank you. Kindly take your seats. With a warm round of applause, let's welcome our chair, our Vice Chancellor, Professor Johnson Nyako Wampong.
Pro-Vice Chancellor of University of Cape Coast, the Registrar, UCC, incoming Registrar, the representative of Regional Minister, our guest of honor, Honorable Reverend Tim Fojo, the Deputy Minister of Education, our keynote speakers, Professor Wahab and Professor Goski, members of Parliament present, former Vice Chancellors, former registrars, Vice Chancellors of sister universities or their representatives, our esteemed partners, heads of diplomatic missions or their representatives, Nananom, provosts, deans, directors, heads of department, and colleagues, academics, staff and students, our sponsors, friends from the media, all protocol duly observed. Good morning to you all. I would like to add my voice to that of the Dean, Office of International Relations, and on behalf of the management of the University of Cape Coast, I want to welcome you to our beautiful campus in the historic city of Cape Coast. I want to thank the Dean and staff of Office of International Relations for coming out with this program, which is strategically located at the heart of Ghana's tourism triangle, that from Cape Coast, Accra and to Kumasi. I'm especially delighted to acknowledge the presence of our esteemed partners at the inaugural International Partners Week. This significant event, which marks the culmination of years of outstanding international engagement and collaborations, underscores our steadfast commitment to internationalization, and we acknowledge your crucial role. The University of Cape Coast, established initially to train educators for the country's second-cycle institutions, is transitioning into a competitive global research institution. We have expanded from the initial education-focused programs into new and niche disciplines and are pursuing cutting-edge innovative teaching and research agenda. Our consistent performance in the Times Higher Education World University Rankings since 2020 is a testament to our new frontiers. In the past 4 years, UCC has been ranked as the #1 university in Ghana and West Africa, and we are among the top 10 universities on the African continent. We are building on our past successes to provide an excellent academic environment for staff and students to pursue their visions. We do not doubt that our international partners have contributed significantly to this achievement. We will continue to build on these achievements with your support and active collaboration. The week event will also offer the platform for further engagement. The role of universities extends beyond merely producing knowledge and receiving accolades. Indeed, the Times Higher Education impact ranking highlights the essential role universities play in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Your presence here today is a testament to our shared objectives and a crucial step towards strengthening our internationalization agenda. Currently, UCC maintains over 125 active partnership agreements with universities worldwide. Our internationalization strategy is grounded in the belief that higher education institutions must serve as primary agents in training global citizens and facilitate cross-cultural exchanges among faculty, staff, and students. As a university, we belong to a number of international organizations such as Association of Commonwealth Universities, Association of West African Universities, Association of International Universities. We are also among the UCC Plus Consortium African Universities. And recently, we have also been accepted into the fold of the African Research Universities Alliance. It is hoped that our affiliations with these and other bodies will continue to enrich our outputs. I want to thank you for traveling far and near, and I encourage you to take full advantage of the opportunities provided by our International iPart Week. Participate actively in all the scheduled activities and develop new networks and partnerships. Your unique perspectives and experiences will enrich our academic community and advance our mission of global education. To our students, I encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity created and learn from it. Be present at the information sessions and participate in the study abroad fairs which have been planned specifically for you. I also encourage faculty and postgraduate students to be present tomorrow morning for the sessions that will improve our internationalization efforts. On this note, I welcome you once again to the University of Cape Coast, and I wish you a fruitful engagement and hope you enjoy the first iPart Week. Welcome, Akwaba, to the University of Cape Coast. I therefore welcome you to collaborate with me in chairing this ceremony to a successful end. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to witness the opening of this iPart Week. To do us the honors, I'm going to introduce our guest of honor, and he is a politician, mineral engineer, an entrepreneur, a legislator, an ordained minister with a multifaceted background in engineering, mining, international relations, and economic policy. He is a second-term member of parliament for Asin South constituency in the Parliament of Ghana and serves as Deputy Minister for Education. He focuses on supporting the minister in driving education transformation at the pre-tertiary level with a passion for foundational learning, STEM, and inclusive education. With a sterling career in mining industry, He served as the Human Resources Superintendent of Goldfields Ghana Limited Takwa Mine, the most extensive surface mine in West Africa, at age 24. He creditably delivered the owner maintenance transition project, thereby setting up a newly created heavy mining equipment department with 465 expatriate and critical skill national employees. He graduated with a bachelor's degree in mineral engineering from George Grant University of Mines and Technology, Takwa, at the age of 21. He holds a Master of Arts in Economic Policy Management from the University of Ghana and is at the concluding stage of PhD in Political Science at the University of Ghana. His research focuses on Ghana's foreign policy and decisions at the United Nations General Assembly and Security Council. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the Reverend John Intimfojo, the Honorable Deputy Minister of Education.
Thank you very much, Akosia, for that very generous introduction. You know, coming from Asinkrua, my small village, we don't get this kind of introduction often. So when you get one like this, you relish it. Thank you very much, Akosia. And I just had a small chat with Professor Wahab, and I'm not sure that the competition on the best jollof is going to end anytime soon. But whilst Ghana and Nigeria, Senegal is busy patenting their jollof, and we are still competing. But please do well to have some jollof, I mean the Ghana one, before you go back to your countries. The chairman of the occasion, my very good friend, Professor Johnson Nyankun Bwampon, the Vice Chancellor University of Cape Coast, the best university in Ghana and one of the best universities in the world. The Pro Vice Chancellor, keynote speakers, my dear friend, Professor Goski Alabi, and the respected Professor Wahab Agbowale, our key partners, ladies and gentlemen, I'm deeply excited to be here at the maiden edition of the International Partners Week, organized by University of Cape Coast, and I join the chairman in welcoming you all from various countries to the beautiful city of Cape Coast. And indeed, I commend the University of Cape Coast, the Vice Chancellor, and the Dean at the Office of International Relations, my good friend, Professor Bet Kusi Wodi, for the initiative, and once again rising up to the call, leading the charge in hosting key partners, very important partners from across the world, in ensuring that we strengthen existing partnerships and ensure that we explore new collaborations that are focused on research ambitions targeted at some of the most complex challenges that is facing us as a continent and globally. And to this, I congratulate you. I know that the next few days is going to be very impactful, and we look forward to the communique that will arise out of this. And I look keenly forward to the keynote speeches that will come today. Indeed, this is the way to go. The world is increasingly becoming globalized. And so a challenge in a locality today becomes a challenge for the entire world. And much as it is true that an opportunity found in a country becomes an opportunity that anyone living in any part of the world can jump onto. And therefore, it is important that we leverage on our strengths and to be able to harmonize synergies that will ensure between faculties in different institutions, both north-south collaborations and south-south collaborations, we strengthen these and leverage on these opportunities to ensure that we mount groundbreaking researches that are targeted at solving some of these challenges. But in the same vein, also producing the critical mass of our population that are empowered to be able to solve some of the global challenges and to be able to confidently and competently take advantage of opportunities that exist locally and elsewhere, and to solve problems both at home and abroad. And that is the essence of this week. And therefore, we are excited at Ministry of Education, and we'll give our full support to this. And going through some of the partners that have been assembled here from the continent and overseas, I'm deeply excited, and I look forward to some really key partnerships that are going to culminate out of this conference. Indeed, education is the surest strategy for the transformation of nations. and underpinning a steady economic development of every country is human capital development. We as a continent must leverage the opportunity of an increasingly youthful population. Today, about 42% of the global youthful population are Africans. And as we speak today, about 40% of the population in Ghana, and just like in many countries in Africa, 40% are youthful. And it is estimated that by the end of the century, this number is going to double. But the question critically that comes to mind is Ghana, like Africa as a continent, going to be contributing globally to 40% of numbers or 42% of numbers, or we are indeed going to be contributing to 40% of innovations taking place in higher education, 40% of innovations and groundbreaking inventions that is taking place across the world. I'm poised and confident that with the initiatives that institutions like University of Cape Coast has embarked upon, much as other universities in this country have also embarked on, and with the heavy investment of government and partners into education, we will be able to realize our key target of ensuring that we position our continent as a continent of opportunities and as a hub for education, a continent where a young child, a young boy, a young girl has equal opportunity for empowerment to be able to make a meaningful contribution to their country, much as every other person also has. And therefore, we in Ghana have been at some serious transformations. We are looking at a holistic transformation in our education sector, right from pre-primary through primary, JHS, SHS, all through to the universities and other higher educations, with particular emphasis on relevant skills development. And this has seen the reform in curriculum from the from the objective-based curriculum to the now standard-based curriculum. And in this curriculum, right from pre-primary all the way to secondary school, our students are raised with competencies, 21st century competencies of critical thinking, of problem solving, of creativity and communication and collaboration. And we believe that the steady gains in this reform is going to tell in the next few years, and in the next decade, Ghana is going to yield the dividends of the rights and relevant investment put into education. It is the secondary side that feeds higher education. And therefore, in an era where nearly 1/3 of persons were denied the opportunity to have a quality secondary education, it was quite a sobering era. But now that era is long gone. We have now been able to increase enrollment from the nominal 830,000 in 2016 to now 1.48 million enrollment because of the introduction of the free secondary education. And by emphasis, please feel free to clap so that we can invest more in education. And with a heavy investment also in transforming the TVET side, we've been able to build a lot of skills. Now, TVET is not misperceived as a field or pathway for those that are not considered the best and brightest. Now, we've seen optimal enrollment into TVET institutions. But all this put together, we want to ensure that as many of our youthful population are empowered through higher education. From 18% gross tertiary enrollment ratio in 2016, now we can boast of some 23%. But that is still low compared to the target we've set in our education strategic plan to be able to attain a minimum 40% gross tertiary enrollment ratio by 2030. That is the minimum we need to hit to be able to assertively make impact in our socio-economic development. On the continent, if you are at 23% gross tertiary enrollment, you might be boasting as having one of the highest gross tertiary enrollment ratio, as many countries are around 10%, 15%. But the likes of Mauritius and co have been able to hit about 44%. And we hope that it is possible that through these right partnerships and collaborations that are mutually beneficial and that are targeting challenges not only in Ghana but in other partner countries, we will be able to make a difference. We are very proud of the sterling faculty and academic staff that we have, and we are excited about the researches, very impactful researches undertaken particularly in the University of Cape Coast over the years. And we are confident that if we are going the same way, we will be able to make really strong impacts. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'm deeply excited at this conference. We look forward to your input. We look forward to very successful and insightful deliberations, and that will even harness more opportunities, and that will position us in becoming the partner of choice whenever other international partners are looking for institutions and countries to pilot certain interventions. So on this note, and on behalf of the President of this Republic and on behalf of the Minister for Education, I'm deeply honored to declare the International Partners Week 2024 of University of Cape Coast duly opened. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Our Honorable Deputy Minister for Education, the Reverend Intim Focho. We'll take some remarks from the component manager from GCGIZ. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. Kweku Yeboah.
Good morning. I bring you greetings from the German Development Corporation, my country manager, Dr. Assmann, and my immediate boss, the head of center, Andreas, who unfortunately couldn't join us today because of a small ailment. The Ghanaian European Center has been working in Ghana since 2017 under the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations. Our main focus has been, over the years, employment promotion, but in recent times, regular migration advisory services. It is in this context that our work resonates with the intents of the university in its internationalization attempts. Much of what we do is migration advisory services, and these 360 migration advisory services means attending to the mobility needs of people. Our focus through German Development Corporation has been, this time around, rather labor mobility, and this is where there is the opportunities to synergize with centers of learning as the university aims to do. Since the start of this year, we have had immense support from the European Union, for which reason our center, which used to be Ghanaian German Center, is now Ghanaian European Center. Our key focus within this context is supporting the internationalization of higher education within the EU, but also in Africa. We've been working through the EU with partner agencies like the German Academic Exchange, Campus France, and also the Erasmus program, as has been mentioned earlier. Our focus, however, has been to work with the universities by establishing what we call study desks. Fortunately, we have 28 of such, and it is with pride that the University of Cape Coast has initiated this maiden event, and we are hoping that the other universities will replicate same as we seek to bridge the gap between domestic knowledge production and that of the international community. Our belief is that as we appropriate knowledge from across the globe, it will help to support our developmental efforts here in Ghana. The Ghanaian European Center will be having a booth which will be providing as much information for the services we provide through, again, the Labor Ministry and also the Labor Department of the Labor Ministry, which has been our key operational partner. But also this time around, through the study desks that we are setting up across the various universities to work with the academic community, provide information to students, especially graduate students, and young researchers who aim to appropriate global knowledge. I thank you very much and encourage the colleagues, especially students, to patronize the booth of the GEC and to appraise themselves of the services we render. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and the Honorable Deputy Minister, and thank you again for the opportunity to join you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kwekuyabua. Next, we would listen in on our first keynote address, and it will be on re-examining the policy framework of internationalization for meaningful partnerships in higher education landscape. Let me introduce our speaker. Our speaker graduated from the Old University of Ife, renamed Obafemi Awolowo University, where he earned his LLB and LLM degrees. He earned his doctorate at the University of Ilorin, where he has been a law lecturer since 1997 and is now the 11th Vice Chancellor of the university. Before his assumption as the 11th Vice Chancellor of the University of Ilorin on October 16, 2022, he reached the heights of law in academic professions through his appointment as a senior advocate of Nigeria and a professor of international law and jurisprudence. This cerebral legal luminary is equally a well-published scholar. He is a prolific and consistent researcher, as demonstrated by his robust publication profile. Over the years, he has shown himself as a resourceful academic by facilitating several national and international research grants to the university worth millions in Nigerian currency. He is a cerebral and multidisciplinary scholar who is never shy about sharing his ideas whenever the occasion demands it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Professor Abdul Wahab Olasupo Egbewole to the podium.
The fellow keynote speaker, Professor Goski Alabi, deans of various faculties, our partners, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. When the minister raised the issue of jollof rice, I remember that last night I took jollof rice in the house of the Vice Chancellor, and it was the Ghanaian jollof rice. Tasty, very nice. In any competition, it will come second to that of Nigeria. Let me congratulate UCC for putting this together as the first Partners Week. This is a very laudable and great initiative, and it's something that will resonate with our relationship. Let me also put on record the fact that UCC and Unilearning has been partners for more than 2 decades, and it's a working partnership. Therefore, I bring you warm greetings from the University of Ilorin, the Better by Far University. I will share my thoughts. I've been given 20 minutes on re-examining the policy framework of internationalization for meaningful partnership in higher education. I'm not sure the slide is there. So what do we do? Okay. But this is not the slide, I guess. No. The discussion is going to be introduced. We will also conceptualize the concept of internationalization, identify the historical position, try to see how this position can be improved on, and of course, we will give our points of way forward. In conceptualizing internationalization, my position is that it cannot be restrictive because internationalization itself is universal, because internationalization denotes the relationship of cross-breeding of ideas. It also identifies the need to reconcile with cultural and other diversities with which the human race is made. Therefore, my position on what internationalization is that it is one that integrates international or intercultural dimensions in teaching, research, and community service. And of course, that represents the triple helix of the university education. But it is now more than that because we're looking at the idea of innovation. Thus, if we're talking about internationalization, we are looking at how these three issues could be integrated across borders. Also, I believe that there was an idea that was shared by one Dr. Lavan Samuels with regards to internationalization within the African context. I believe that position is restrictive. I believe that position is not broad enough to accommodate the concept of internationalization. At least in my humble view, I believe that internationalization is not an African thing. It is indeed a global phenomenon. Talking about the historical evolution of internationalization, I will be on the third or the fourth slide now, so that people can follow me. 1, 2, 3. The fourth slide. Good. Before now, when we talk about internationalization, especially within the African context, what we usually imagine is the mobility of students and staff. That appears to be our own concept of internationalization. But of course, internationalization is broader and far more effective than that. And within the African context, I believe that the original idea of just engagement and staff sharing, students sharing, is no longer the issue. For me, I am calling for what I call the focusing on the concentric circles. That is, you want to do internationalization, UCC, University of Ghana, UCC, Loyola University, UCC, another university within Ghana. That should be our concentric circles. And you move from that level to the next level, which is the West African level, and see how many of universities or institutions that you can collaborate with in that, at that level. From there, you move to the continent. From there, then you move to the world. I believe that if we have the concentric circles theory as our own model of internationalization, we are likely to be more impactful. We are likely to achieve the goal the more. And that is what I call glocalization. That is, you will think globally, but act locally. Next slide. The evolving context of globalization speaks to technological advancement, global challenges, political and economic shifts, and post-COVID era. That is, for now, if we leave from that concentric circles position and then want to see how can we push ourselves to the world as Africans, then we must identify that technology is an imperative. And today we have artificial intelligence. Today we have ease of learning. Today we have all sorts of apps and tools with which we can actually relate. And that would be more importantly discussed under post-COVID reality. The global challenges also talks about the issue of climate change, the pandemics, and resource scarcity. To travel from Nigeria to Ghana, you will be talking about between $1,500, $2,000, even in the same region. Why should we be this? Is it our political leaders are not focusing on what they are supposed to focus on and see education as an important tool to emancipate our continent, or they want to keep us perpetually at that level, that we should not exchange ideas, we should not collaborate with ourselves, we should not internationalize for the purpose of them continuing to rule us as they are. Political and economic shifts identify Brexit, populism, economic pressures, impact, student mobility, and collaborations. And of course, in this, is it possible for our leaders to start thinking of academic research visa grants, such that you don't have to go through the rigors of the trouble we go to seek visa to do academic exchanges? Is it possible that we also create academic research flight rates, such that we don't have to pay through your nose to ensure that you engage with your others? Thank God, COVID came in 2020, and try to reshape our thinking as academics. Try to call attention to those things that we do not value. That it is possible for me to sit in Nigeria and still engage people in Ghana. It is possible for me to sit in Ghana and engage people in Europe. It is possible for me to sit in Ghana and engage people in America. That is the reality of our time, and that we should explore. But of course, it also has its own challenges, because the infrastructural facilities are not there. And of course, that will take me back to our political leaders to please plead with them that it is important that they provide broadband integration in the universities, in tertiary institutions, for the purpose of ease of communication between us. Next slide, please. In Africa today, in spite of the challenges that I identified earlier, we know that there is an increase in the student staff mobility, albeit slower than other regions. But what I've also discovered is the mobility is from Africa to the west, from Africa to the east, and not necessarily vice versa. And of course, if we really want to be global partners, there shouldn't be a dichotomy or a division between the senior and junior partners. We are partners and we want to be partners as equals, and not the kind of partnership that we have presently, especially with and I listened to the Dean of Center for International Office, calling attention to the North-South collaboration and emphasis shifting to South-South collaboration. Even when all animals are equal, some are even more equal than the others. Because even in the South-South, India is in the South. Can we relate with India the way Nigeria and Ghana will relate? No. Malaysia is still in the South. Is it the kind of relationship we have in West Africa that we have there? So for me, in evolving a situation that internationalization will assist us, I think it's important for us to identify who we want to relate with, how we want to relate, when we want to relate, and where and on what terms we are going to relate. I've talked about resource constraints, brain drain. For me, brain drain is not bad in itself because it has its own positive values. But we have medical doctors, we have professors leaving the shores of Africa, going to Europe, going to West generally, and just getting him or herself involved in all sorts of jobs that are not related to the kind of expertise that he or she has. And of course, talking about intra-African mobility schemes and joint research networks, I believe that this has actually been the basis for which relationships like UCC consortium, in which UCC and Unilorin are critical partners, Association of West African Universities, to which we are also partners. Now, how can we ensure that this kind of collaboration actually work and work better for us? Next slide. For me, one of the areas we need to emphasize is curriculum development. I shared when I came in yesterday, one of your students was assigned to me, one of the fantastic Africans that I've come across. I'm not sure whether I got the name correctly, Irua. And we were talking, and she said she studied forensic science. I said, even in UCC Ghana? She said, yes. Fantastic. And I discussed with my friend, the Vice Chancellor, that I want the curriculum of forensic science so that I can replicate it in my university. Because if we want to engage, if we want to relate, we must find a common ground. And the common ground for academic engagement is curriculum alliance. And of course, when we talk about regional alliances, African Research of University Alliances, African Association of African University, UCC Consortium, Association of West African Universities, will be better positioned to coordinate and ensure that these things actually works better for us. Next slide. Now, if we want to collaborate, I have asked the 4 questions: when, where, how, and with who. But we must not focus on quantity. We must focus on quality. There is a Yoruba proverb, "Tian tian o keyin, to ba je meji ko funfun." That is, you don't have to have 32 teeth. If you have 2 and they are white, then you are good to go. So the point I'm making is that in our relationships, we should identify those that will enhance us and not those that will pull us down. And who are those that will enhance us? It has nothing to do with money. Because what I have come to realize is that most of this collaboration that we do from Africa with the West or the East or these advanced economies are data-driven. They will give us money with due respect to our partners. We respect them, we appreciate their support, but their goal is to get our data. And that is why we must sit down in packaging our MOU, ensuring that it is a win-win for both parties. Next slide. I have discussed the issue of accessibility. I have discussed the issue of COVID-19. And for me, the way to go is to ensure that our governments, one, at the level of countries, two, at the regional level, three, at the continental level, must take conscious and deliberate position to say we want internationalization for our universities. And that is why today in Ranke, in spite of the politics, the economy, and the social factors of Ranke, you will not see any African country in 1 to 400. Why should that be? For me, it is all about the need to create a niche for ourselves at the national level. Let us identify what our goals are. At the regional level, I believe that Economic Committee of West African States should come up more forcefully on what they, because for instance, as we speak, there is no framework, there is no policy in terms of, this is what we are giving to our universities to achieve. And of course, the Association of African Universities must also be in the forefront to push this position. Next slide, please. For me, I have, as future directions, I have called attention to most of these things before now. If we want to engage, let us engage in an enduring and sustainable manner. Next slide. Now, what should our framework going forward look like? One, it must be holistic. It must be one that integrates international perspective across all functions of higher education. It must be one that aligns government initiatives with institutional priorities and international objectives. And that is why there must be national priorities for internationalization, there must be regional priorities for internationalization, and there must be continental priorities for internationalization in black and white, so that all institutions will know which direction we are going. And with that, we'll be able to move as a body and be able to achieve better. And of course, what should drive our internationalization should be ethical. That is, because European Union is giving us money, because the Carnegie is giving us money, because we are expecting Erasmus to support us, we now go and crook up data because we know that if we give them, they will give us money. No, that is not the way to go. Next slide. I've also called attention to some of the things that are working, the African Research United Alliance, the Erasmus Virtual Exchange, and of course there is this China-African Forum for Cooperation, which has been extremely enduring, which I believe are sustainable, and which I believe is the future of collaboration or internationalization in the continent. Next slide. In conclusion, re-examining policy frameworks for internationalization is imperative for fostering sustainable, meaningful partnerships in higher education, emphasizing equity, inclusivity, and adaptive policies to ensure that internationalization efforts drive mutual growth and global understanding. I so much thank you for listening.
I believe we can applaud our speaker better. Thank you very much, Prof. We'll take our second keynoter's address, and this is going to be on the emerging trends in student and staff mobility in academia, lessons for African universities. Permit me to introduce her. Professor Mrs. Goski Alabi is an esteemed academic, consultant, and entrepreneur. in total quality management. As one of Africa's leading full professors, she specializes in strategic leadership and corporate governance, focusing mostly on higher education. Professor Alabi's career spans over 20 years, during which she has held various roles in academia, consultancy, regulation, advocacy, and business. She is the president of the African Council for Distance Education and the chair of the African Network for Internationalization of Education. She has been involved in international policy making, serving on national and international boards, including the World Bank's Advisory Board and the African Union Commission. She has contributed significantly to the field through her academic research, authoring books such as Managing for Excellence in the 21st Century and the 4 Capitals for Success. Her expertise is recognized globally, and she has presented keynote speeches at prestigious events. And this morning, we are privileged to have her here. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Professor Goski Alabi, President of Lawe Open University. We can do it better for her as she comes up.
Our Prof. Chair, permit me to acknowledge a few people, because coming here always feels very nostalgic. And I remember a few years ago, in 1996, when I graduated from the University of Cape Coast. Our batch spent over 5 years for our undergraduate program because of the long strike action. So I feel very happy to be back home. I see amongst us some very good friends of mine. Our Honorable Fojo, who is a good friend, and I'm always very happy to meet. We have met on several platforms. I acknowledge you this morning. My own sister, Professor Rosamond Buahini. And when we met in Germany, we called her Rosamunda. So, allow me to acknowledge also my mate, who is the incoming registrar, Mr. Gideon Abikwe Esquire. We did mathematics for 2 years in level 1 and level 2 here in UCC. Congratulations. And that tells you the evidence of UCC's quality. And no doubt, we are here consistently #1 in Ghana, #1 in West Africa, and for this year, #7 in Africa. Just so proud to be associated with this. So I'm supposed to be speaking on emerging trends in staff and students mobility. I would like to start by congratulating the Vice Chancellor, the Dean, and the entire team of the International Directorate for organizing this. And this is exactly what I believe we need in Ghana and in West Africa and Africa. As the chair of the African Network for Internationalization of Education, sometimes we look around and we ask ourselves, where exactly is the strategy for Africa on internationalization? And where is the national strategy for internationalization of education? Institutions are doing their best, and that is why UCC requires special acknowledgement for this well-organized week and conference. The first question I'd like to ask is, why do institutions internationalize? And my second question, why do institutions partner with other institutions and not others? I like to situate this presentation within the context of the theme, which is our historical identity within the context of internationalization. 2 weeks ago, when I spoke at the 14th Annual Conference in Accra, I did say that internationalization has a key role to play in transforming Africa's higher education and research if it is focused on Africa's priority needs. I think Professor Wahab already mentioned that. From ranking to intercultural competencies, epistemic plurality, social justice in education, sharing of rich resources, grooming of global citizens, to shaping Africa's dwarfed voice in the scholarship of the world, while addressing historical imbalances and promoting indigenous knowledge and sustainable development, the role of internationalization cannot be overemphasized. The current framework for internationalization has indeed been shaped by legacies and some of the unintended consequences of globalization, and thus it really needs re-examining. So how can we reposition internationalization so that it works and support African universities in addressing some of the perennial challenges of access, quality, low capacities of research, and also bring about the new research and knowledge paradigms? These are food for thought. So what are the trends in internationalization? Firstly is increased mobility. Mobility has really increased across the globe, but it is not only about the mobility of qualifications. It is also not only limited to staff and students exchanges. It is not limited to study abroad programs, but also the new dimension of virtual mobility. And these days, we have virtual internships, which are also some form of internationalization, because students in Ghana can have their internships virtually, where they have resource persons or facilities gathered from around the world. Technology is playing a completely different role in internationalization lately. Collaborative research is another one to talk about, and these have been the common trademarks for internationalization for a long time. Joint research projects, dual and joint academic degrees, so forth and so on. Global curriculum is a key aspect of internationalization in recent times. And recently, many of the big funding grants would insist or require that you have some form of international accreditation. For example, the ACE projects. International accreditation is a requirement. Technological platforms, I've spoken about them. T&E has been reshaped by technology, and that is transnational education, where previously we have campuses being set up, or satellite campuses being set up in different regions. Globalization and ranking, which has a competitive kind of purpose is also another thing. And let me spend a bit of time here, even though I'll touch on it again. Africa has not been as intentional and as strategic about internationalization as the world has been. A few years ago, when higher education became commoditized, the global north responded to it in a very strategic and consistent manner. They developed strategies. So, for example, the UK under Tony Blair came up with what they call the Prime Minister's Initiative 1. Prime Minister's Initiative 1 was simply to respond to the commoditization of higher education. It had become a tradable commodity, and therefore they didn't have to look at it purely from a social product point of view, but from a business-oriental strategic point of view. And that was the import of the Prime Minister's Initiative 1. It was overtaken by the Prime Minister's Initiative 2, and then the UK now rolled out its strategy, Strategy 1, and it went on and on. What is the goal? The goal, at a point, is to ensure that the UK attracts by 2030 600,000 students, international students, annually. What is the international student target for Ghana? What is it for West Africa? And what is it for Africa as a continent? What plans do we have? I have taken the time to look through our education strategy, and that aspect of internationalization, I didn't see it well situated in that plan. And this is why, because we do not have a plan, we do not understand some of the subtle marketing and business-oriented approaches that the global north is using to internationalize. One of them is the introduction of the rankings. Ranking is to position institutions in a way that it makes them more attractive to international students. What has been our strategy? Many of the countries are merging universities, so they can be strong enough to have a research output that can be competitive in ranking. Because in ranking, the quantum of your research output and the degree to which that quantum has an impact, which is measured by the impact factor, is critical. Now, if your university is small and you cannot produce about 200 research papers in indexed journals, how do you compete favorably? So it needs proper planning, it needs to be intentional, it needs to be strategic. So when you take countries like South Africa, some of the universities needed to merge. And these included schools like, universities like KwaZulu-Natal. Once KwaZulu-Natal merged, their position on the ranking was completely influenced. They became amongst the top 3 in that succeeding years in Africa. We have the example of Rwanda that pooled its institutions together. Here in Ghana, we find a situation where every region must have a university, and therefore we are establishing several small universities that may not be as competitive. Internationally, What does this do for us? Issues of social responsibility are also there, and of course, policy and government support, which I have spoken about extensively. I would skip this slide and go right to the next slide. Globally, in terms of mobility, it is reported by UNESCO that about 6.1 million students were studying abroad in 2022, and 57% of these were from Asia. Of course, internationally mobile students account for 5% of bachelor's program, according to OECD report, 14% master's students, and 24% are doctoral students. 31% of tertiary mobile students are enrolled in STEM, according to OECD again, and students from Asia dominate mobility. What are the drivers? Quality of education, as I have already mentioned, cultural exposure, economic opportunities, and technological advancement. But most importantly, from a practical perspective in Africa, you find that many of the students who can afford to study internationally are going because they could have opportunities for work permits and eventually become a part of those economies. The trends I've already mentioned, but the one I would like to focus on would be the remote and hybrid work models and the dual appointments. Today, technology has made it possible for faculty members in any part of the world to work in another part of the world. So if I'm a lecturer here, I could be lecturing in New York University, for example, because it is possible to teach online. What are the challenges in mobility and partnerships? Visa is one, financial constraints is another, because we have not focused strategically on internationalization. Many of our universities do not have budgets for it. And nationally, we do not have budgets for it. As we speak today, I saw a report on the World University News yesterday that says that UK has voted about 470 million or thousand pounds to its quality assurance agency to promote internationalization of higher education. And you recognize that even though they have a target of 600,000, they're already doing about 550-something thousand at the moment per annum. So this is, it's a huge economic consideration, because having international students do not only affect the economics of the universities, but also the businesses associated with it in the community that they find themselves in. Then there is the issue of language barrier, and then the legal aspects, and I'm happy that Professor Wahab is here, because from a legal perspective, what frameworks do we work with when we are drawing our agreements and MOUs? You find that the perceived bigger brothers would want to say within the agreement that it is their jurisdiction that would be used for any conflict resolution. And then we would say back that, no, but if we are in Ghana or Nigeria or Cameroon, it should be our national laws. How do we reconcile that? And what is available? Is it that there should be a legal framework that will now start using arbitration clauses and selecting the seats of arbitration to be neutral? It is for the legal brains to think about these aspects of, legal aspects of internationalization. I've spoken already about virtual mobility and short-term mobility, but let me focus a little on micro-credentialing. Micro-credentialing has become a very critical aspect of internationalization. As we speak today, my university, the Lawa University College, which is now Accra Metropolitan University College, has a collaboration with MIT in the US, and we are a pathway school to MIT. And what is it like? You take a micro-master's from MIT, and it is considered a part of our full master's. So you get a micro-credential or micro-master's from MIT, and then you get a full master's from our university because you studied together. There are other universities like Arizona State and many others that are actually taking advantage of micro-credentialing. From a regulatory point of view, what is the stance? What is the African stance? And what is the Ghanaian stance when it comes to micro-credentialing? The impact, curriculum diversification. One aspect in Africa, Professor Domtio said that Africa is the most internationalized continent, and people argued with him. But what I presume he meant is related to curriculum diversification, because the curriculum of Africa has evolved from colonialism. The textbooks we use are mainly, a lot of them are from the global north. We do not have our own textbooks. And this is where I speak about our own research output, the policies on recognizing the efforts, the intellectual efforts of our faculty members. Here in Africa, and in Ghana, as I know it, many institutions will not recognize their own institutional journals for publication, for promotion. You need to have published in an indexed international Western Science Direct Index Journal, Scopus Index Journal, to be considered for promotion. Rightly so, it has implications for ranking as well. And so if we are not having confidence in our own research output, then our curriculum will continue to be internationalized and not localized, or how Professor Wahid mentioned it. So this is a critical aspect of internationalization. And that is why in Africa today, the buzzword is decoloniality, academic decoloniality, and curriculum decoloniality, or decolonization of curriculum. But that is not enough. We are also talking about bibliometric decoloniality. And bibliometric decoloniality has to do with our own research output and how it plays an impact on our own issues. So I've mentioned the case studies that I need to talk about, but just to say that the Russian government, and this is World University News, 23 of October, Russian government plans to accelerate the recruitment of domestic universities, domestic universities of international students. I've spoken about the QAA in the UK, and I've given the long history of the UK when it comes to intentionally and strategically positioning internationalization. So what are the policy recommendations? The first one would be to streamline areas of difficulty that brings about the imbalances that we have in internationalization. And one of the first ones would be streamlining visa processes. The second would be the sustainable funding models for internationalization, which also means that there must be budgetary allocations. And then encouraging regional collaborations, particularly intra-Africa mobility. And then digital solutions that I had spoken about, but recently we are talking about the collaborative online learning COIL, which is a platform that I believe that UCC has been very much involved with. And let me acknowledge here that my own sister, Professor Rosemond, and the Dean has been very instrumental in this, because Professor Buahini has been a member of the African Network for Internationalization board for a very long time, until a couple of months ago when she handed over that position. So in conclusion, globalization has revolutionized students and staff mobility. The future holds a lot, and I saw that inscription at the back of the T-shirt that says that global connections, endless possibilities. Indeed, endless possibilities, but it needs to be guided. The next one has to do with the fact that we need to be intentional about this. And 2024 being Africa Union's Year of Education, and the fact that the Continental Education Strategy for Africa is being reviewed, I hope that our common voices would find a place in the reviewed Continental Strategy for Education in Africa, so that internationalization would be adequately reflected. I also like to mention the adaptation to change, and here I'm glad that we have the EU, DAAD, present here. And I like to say that when it comes to the Erasmus and Marie Curie scholarships, for PhDs in particular, we are appealing that it would become a lot more gender sensitive, because the requirement as of the last time I checked was that you have to be in Europe to do the entire 4 years. And this does not make it very sensitive to the needs of women and females, young academics who would want to have their PhDs. We are hoping that it would adapt to change and take advantage of technological flexibility to ensure that that flexibility exists for women to also really take part in Marie Curie and Erasmus for PhD, while still attending to the, their family needs. I thank you all very much for your attention and look forward to the panel. Thank you.
Can we do it again for her as she makes her way to her seat? Thank you very much, Professor Alabi. We'll take a performance from the Confucius Institute. Do we have CIUCC ready? Let's welcome them with a round of applause. Share Confucius Institute, UCC. Let's do it for them. Thank you very much. So we'll have a photo session, but before that, there is a presentation of stoles to a few individuals, and I'm going to call on our Vice Chancellor to do us the honors with the first set. Can I have the stoles coming up? So I would invite right, I'll call on the Pro VC as well to help us, and then our Honorable Deputy Minister. There are quite a number, so as they come, we would decorate them with it. I'll call on the Vice Chancellor of Ilorin, Prof, who is our keynoter for today, Professor Alabi, Lawe University, Open University, Ghana. Dr. Stephen K. Apia Paddy, Dr. Damien Kohal, University of the West Indies, Barbados. Dr. Gavin Wilk, University of Limerick, Ireland. Dr. Christina Alfaro, San Diego State University. So Samba Dieng from the Louisiana State University. William Jennings, please come up, from University of Tennessee. Ahmad as a Dean, Wayne State University. Martha Wayne from the University of Florida. Mary Stegmeyer from the University of Missouri. Ji Young Jung, President of Rutgers University. Sabine Clar, Penn State University. Claudia Petrescu, Dean, Kansas State University. Tamara Cunningham, UC San Diego. Lindsay Aloha from University of Arkansas. Mark Sheridan, Texas Tech University. Mihaela Mitianu, Florida Atlantic University. Federico Messersi, University of Bologna. Professor Jonathan Chetimi, Delta State University. Mr. Burema Wadrago, Building Capacity Institute. If you're here, please join us upstage as you take the stove. Professor Emmanuel Opokuakwa from Abo Academy University. Dr. Abdul Noels, University of the Bahamas. Dr. Vasil Papu Chevik, University of Cordoba. Dr. Gideon Ube Gulam, University of Port Harcourt. Dr. Raz Mickey Courtney, Wayne State University. Dr. Stephen Kenmo, if you're here. Miss Jamie Plate from Grand Valley State University. Ms. Emily Sumney from Grand Valley State University. Professor Alui Lee from Middle Tennessee State University. Professor J.J. McMurtry from York University, Canada. Professor Maria Jorge from York University. Dr. Nicole Whitehead from Bucknell University. So I believe we'll take a group photo. So I would invite all provosts to join in, and then reps from the various universities, the local universities who are here, can we have you join them as well? Reps of the local universities who are present, please join them. So we have a group photo. Thank you very much. Our incoming registrar, please join. Our acting registrar, please join. Thank you. Please. Yes, do. Please do. Please smile. Or you can say banchi, it's simple. Thank you very much. Let's applaud them as they exit the stage. Thank you so much. So on the program outline, so per the program outline, we have a panel discussion on the keynote addresses that we have listened to. And pretty shortly, we would be introducing the moderators for the session as well as members of the panel. Ahead of that, we're going to get the stage set for this particular session to commence. Please stay, don't leave yet. It promises to be a very exciting session ahead. Please don't leave yet. I'm informed that lunch and everything will be taken care of here. So please don't leave. Stay in and then participate in the panel discussion that is about to start. Thank you very much.
trendybeats.com.
All right, thank you very much. We are just about to start the panel discussion. Let's kindly settle, and then we can commence the panel discussion on the keynote addresses. Let me quickly remind you that our second keynote address was on emerging trends in student and staff mobility in academia, lessons for African universities. And our first keynoter also addressed the theme re-examining the policy framework on internationalization for meaningful partnerships in higher educational landscape. And these are the two addresses that we are going to have the panel discussion bothering on. To help us with this, I would introduce our panel members. First on the list is Professor Damien Kohau from the University of the West